Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Sports Talk with kerry, wehmeyer show for Thursday, May 20th. We're going to be going over today's news headlines here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So we're going to send you the links if you want to come in video chat with us. That'll be one option. Also, if you want to come in through the regular chat room, that will be fine. We will recognize your comments as well. So I will go ahead and send those links out to everyone on once again Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. If you're on those three networks, you'll be getting a link from that'll be to access StreamYard. So let me go ahead and put that in. There we go. If you're on YouTube and Twitter, you can come in now. Also, Facebook, we'll send you links out as we go. So I'm going to go ahead and send you links out now. Okay, I just sent you links. So all three networks, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, has the StreamYard links. Those links, you can come to the studio and talk on the air. Or if you don't, that's fine. So let's go through some news headlines. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to see what's happening in the world of sports here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So I'm going to go over to ESPN first and switch it out. Okay, first round coverage of the Kensser Island Ocean course. So that's what's happened. That's the Kensser Island golf course. So that's the first round. So we'll show you the live scores. Okay, Bradley 4 under par. Stevenson 3 under par. Casey 3 under par. Lewis 3 under par. And Dufner 2 under par. So that's in the PGA Championship. We'll show you the full one. So let me go ahead and send that up. So we'll give you the full information. So the tournament will begin. So that's the scores for the PGA. It's a PGA Championship 20 up to 23rd. So that's the PGA Championship. So once again, this is from so let's okay, also official, Tim Tebow joins the Jacksonville Jaguars as a tight end. So I think that's good what he's doing because of his speed and his quickness and his size ability. He could be, like I said, he could be a reputable tight end. He signs a 1-year deal that he will be on the field Thursday with the team's all-season program. So I'm glad to see Tim Tebow back in football as a tight end with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I'm glad to see that happening. So he will turn 34 in August. He haven't played football since 2015, since he played with the Denver Broncos and multiple teams. So I look at it this way. This is going to be a good investment for Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars, because look, they're going to be looking for a tight end, and I think, in my opinion, that Tim Tebow can be that reputable tight end for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, a lot of people might think he's crazy and stuff like that, but the truth of the matter is, he wants to go back to and reunite with Coach Meyer, because he coached them at Florida. So once again, this is from ESPN. Go to ESPN.com. ESPN just reported it this morning. Okay, next article. Antonio Brown must pass physical before officially signing a 1-year deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So he has to complete that physical. So he's going to have to do it because he went under a microscope. It was like a little procedure, but that was on Tuesday. So matter his physical. So hopefully he will pass and try to get that 1-year deal. Because I think they're gonna. I think he's profitable with Tampa Bay. So I think it's imperative that he just once again don't miss this physical. Last month, Brown reached a settlement on a civil lawsuit against his former trainer, accusing him of sexual assault back in 2017-18. So once again, this is from ESPN headlines. Okay, let's see what else we have. Okay, Diego Madonna case. 7 medical professionals charged with homicide. So it looks like that's down the pipeline for what's happening. That's each from so that's 7 professionals are going to be charged. The prosecutor's office in Sam Izdo, Argentina, opened up an investigation. If found guilty, they will receive 25 years in prison. He died at the age of 60 back in 2020 of heart failure, 2 weeks after going into brain surgery. So this case is going to still be going on. The toxicology report determined that no alcohol and no illegal substance was detected. So once again, this is from ESPN. Go to ESPN.com. That's ESPN.com. Okay, LeBron James delivered his the 7th seed yesterday in the NBA playoffs. That game, I will be honest with you, that was an absolute barn burner game between both Lakers and Golden State last night. Lakers ended up winning 103-100. That was something right there to watch in the late night hours. LeBron James 34-foot 3-point shot beat the clock. And the net was at 58.2 seconds. So I'd say this, look, it's going to be a good matchup between Phoenix and the Los Angeles Lakers. Also, the AC will be the Warriors will take on the Memphis Grizzlies. That'll be on Friday night, so that's going to be in the still in the play-in game. So once again, this is from ESPN. Go to ESPN.com. Okay, let's see what else we have. Okay, Colorado Avalanche. Nazrin Kadara face hearing that could he could face suspension for hitting Justin Falk. So he is going to looks like he's going to be suspended. So he is going to face a hearing by the NHL Department of Player Safety. Has officially they'll have an in-person hearing for so I look at it this way, that's probably going to happen with this individual with the Colorado Avalanche. He will be suspended for hitting Justin Falk. So once again, this is from ESPN. Go to ESPN.com. Okay, Steph Curry frustrated by the loss, confident they will bounce back against the Memphis Grizzlies. I have, like I said, I have a gut feeling. I think they will bounce back against the Memphis Grizzlies. So I think they will. I think they absolutely will bounce back against Memphis because last night, Steph Curry was on his game last night. So he was absolutely on his game last night in a game against the Lakers. So I'll be honest with you. He will be okay. Make no mistake about it. I mean, look, it's just a setback for them, but unfortunately, but they can, like I said, I think they can come back and make it a game for Memphis. So that's going to be Friday night. That's going to be at over in San Francisco area. So once again, this is from ESPN. Click this out. See what else we have. Okay, once again, Corey Kluber throws a no-hitter. This is one of the highlights of yesterday's game. So we'll show you the highlight of. So let me put that in and show you the highlights. So that was against the Texas Rangers. So he gets this no-hitter in that game. So he's mowing them down. I'm gonna tell you, he's absolutely mowing them down, Corey Kluber. So he gets a 6 no-hitter last night, defeating the Texas Rangers 2-0 in Arlington. So I'll be honest with you, this guy, Corey Kluber, is absolutely. Let's give you his numbers. I'm gonna go ahead and give you. He threw 71 of 101 pitches, and there were strikes in the game yesterday. So that was kind of, like I said, that was kind of good what he did. So let me give you his numbers. I'm gonna go ahead and go over to his numbers. Give you Corey Kluber's numbers from yesterday. Corey Kluber. The next game will be the Rangers today at 1:05. He has 50 strikeouts. ERA is 2.86 with the Yankees. He's also has 50 Ks. The game against Texas, he had 9 strikeouts and 1 walk. So he had 9 strikeouts and 1 walk. So that was in yesterday's game. The last 7 days, he had 15 strikeouts and 3 walks. He gave up 7 hits, 4 runs. 4 of them was earned. So, and also the month of May, he has 31 strikeouts and 7 walks. Now, in the recent game, he just absolutely had shutout ball against the Texas Rangers. So I think Corey Kluber, this absolutely is something to watch when he goes up and pitches and stuff like that. So once again, this is from ESPN. Go to ESPN.com. We just gave you his numbers from last night. So he gets a 6 no-hitter. Okay, next one. Jake Paul has a deal in place with Showtime Sports. So Jake Paul has a so that's one of the fights they got into. They got into his face. So that's Jake Paul getting his deal with Showtime Sports. So it looks like they're going to be a fight. So he's going to be having more fights in earnest. So once again, this is from ESPN. Go to ESPN.com. There he will have his next fight will be there will be an exhibition bout That will be on June 6th in Miami. So that game will be that pay-per-view will be distributed to Showtime. So once again, this is from ESPN. Go to ESPN.com. Okay, what else we have? Okay, leaderboard. Once again, Lord is -3. Bradley is -3. So -3 in the tournament that's out in that's the PGA tournament out in South Carolina. Let's see what else we have. So I'm gonna scroll it down. Okay, the power rankings. Let's go through the power rankings. They just came out. New power rankings for the WNBA. I'm gonna go through those power rankings as we speak. So the WNBA power rankings out. The Seattle Storm is at number 1. Their previously was number 2. Their next couple of games is Minnesota and Dallas. Chicago Sky 1-0. There was previously 3. Now they're down to they're up 2. Now Connecticut was previously 8. Now they're up to 3. So they made a couple of spots up to 3. So they're in the top 3 when it comes down to it. Also, the New York Liberty was previously 11. Now they're moved up to 4th, so they're 3-0. They're undefeated. Also, the Las Vegas Aces, there was 1. Now they went down to 5. The Phoenix Mercury was previously 5. Now they're down to 6. Now the Los Angeles Sparks. There was previously 7. They're still 7. They're 0-1 on the season. Also, the Minnesota Lynx 0-2. Their previously was 6. Now they're 8th in the power rankings. They will have Seattle this week. The Washington Mystics, their previously was 4th. Now they're down to 9th. Now the Dallas Wings, they were previously was 9th. They dropped down to 10th. Also, the Atlanta Dream, they was previously 10th. Now they're 11th. They're 0-1. The Indiana Fever is 0-2. They previously was 12th. They're still 12th. So that is your teams for the WNBA power rankings. So once again, this is from ESPN. Go to ESPN.com. So let's see what's going on. Let's see who's in the video. In the looks like nobody yet. Okay. Let's go through. See what else we can give you here on Sports Talk. Okay, the NHL games playoffs will continue tonight. 5:30 Central Time will be Florida and Tampa Bay. That will be on USA. Also on CBC will be Montreal with Toronto, and also on NBC Sports Network will be New York and Pittsburgh. That's in the East Side, and the series is tied up at 1 apiece. So that's in game number 3. So right now, game 1 will be Toronto and will be out in Toronto. Okay, Major League Soccer games going on. They'll be upcoming. Montreal will take on FC Cincinnati. Portland will take on the LA Galaxy. And Saturday, Orlando City will take on Toronto FC. So that's going to be also in the USL Championships. Real Monarchs, SLC versus Austin Bound. Colorado Springs will take on switch Bucks. Also, Indiana will take on Sporting Kansas City. That's in Kansas City. So that's your soccer games that's going to be going on this week. Okay, let's hear this. Stephen A. Smith calls out Charles Barkley for reconsidering LeBron GOAT debate. Let's see what he had to say.
If LeBron James is able to beat the Phoenix Suns, I don't even know who they played. Whoever they play in the second round, beat the Utah Jazz or the Clippers, get to the finals. And if he's able to beat the Brooklyn Nets, first of all, I got Milwaukee winning the East. But if he's able to win the championship this year, I think we got to have a serious conversation. We really do.
Hold on. Now, Greeny, I would like to remind you, and don't just bring up your cup and sit back and kick up your fly shoes, Greeny. Listen to what he's saying here. So we got a Phoenix Suns team that's got my coach of the year, that's got an MVP candidate in Chris Paul, no doubt. Devin Booker's a star, but they're a relatively young team that Chuck has already conceded, can be beat by these Lakers because it's an easier matchup for the Lakers than Utah. We got that going on. We look at the Utah Jazz. As formidable as they are, as exceptionally well coached as they are, they just got bounced out in the first round last year. They've got something to prove, so they're relatively young. We look at, Mr. Load Management himself and Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers, who never even made it to a conference finals in franchise history. We look at the Dallas Mavericks. Kristaps Porzingis can't stay healthy. A feather touches him, and he's on the injured list. We've got Denver that no longer has Jamal Murray. You got Portland that's a relatively guard-oriented team. They've got talent, but we all know that something's missing. Don't get me started with Nurkic's defense, even though he's formidable offensively. And we got Steph Curry without Klay Thompson. That's the West that you're talking about, okay? And then the Eastern Conference, Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant have played 8 games together. We know how formidable they are offensively, but defensively, they put you to shame, Charles Barkley. They ain't think about playing no damn defense. And you're trying to tell me that if LeBron gets through all of that puts him above Michael Jordan? Are you nuts?
Hey, I said...
Well, I'll be honest with you. Look, I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't think it's going to happen. I don't think he's going to be above Michael Jordan. I don't think LeBron James can hold Michael Jordan's jockstrap, to tell you the truth. I mean, look, sure, he might win maybe his 5th title and stuff like that. But the truth of the matter is, he will not, like I said, he will not curtail Michael Jordan. Not even close. I mean, look. If he does, then so be it. I mean, congratulations to LeBron James. Look, I don't have nothing against LeBron James. I never did, and I never will. But the truth of the matter is, look, he will never, ever be great like Michael Jordan was. I mean, you can disagree with me. You can come in. Through Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. If you want to comment about LeBron James being a GOAT and being better than Michael Jordan, you can post your comments through Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Or once again, if you want to come in video chat, give us your opinion on camera, you can do that as well. So once again, this is from Get Up This Morning. With Mike Greenberg and Stephen A. Smith. So they were on there early in the morning, just absolutely just rattling off. So once again, this is from ESPN. Go to ESPN.com. So we will move along. So we will go over to SB Nation. I'm going to go over to SB Nation, see what's happening on the SB Nation network. Okay, SB Nation. SB Nation is a site devoted to fans, fan blogs. So let's. Okay, this is from Ricky O'Donnell. The Lakers season depends on Anthony Davis playing center. Yeah, I think so because look, if he does play center, that could be a pretty good concept. The Lakers was teeping on the edge of defeat on Wednesday night, but it was a throwing game last night. So the Lakers went to win 103-100, so they punched their ticket to the playoffs. So my question is, Anthony Davis playing center last night, can he excel at the position? So that is my question to anybody that wants to know. So this is what they're talking about. So once again, this is from SB Nation. Go to sbnation.com. That's sbnation.com. So let's see what else we can. Okay, the Shanna plan is Julio Jones to the 49ers. A pipe dream. Well, I probably don't think it's going to be a major pipe dream, but hopefully if they do get him, that could be a good pass catching wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers, because they're going to have Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo being the quarterback, and also that new quarterback, Trey Lance. So if they have Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo, that most likely will be the quarterback that's going to throw the ball to Julio Jones if it does happen. So I think if the 49ers can pick him up, can pick up Julio Jones, the sky's the limit for the San Francisco 49ers. If they don't, then that's just probably going to be, like I said, a pipe dream. So once again, this is from, a lot of people, and I mean a lot of teams will try to get Julio Jones because what he done with the Atlanta Falcons. So that's something right there. So once again, this is from SB Nation. Go to sbnation.com. That's sbnation.com. This is from, once again, 49ers Nation blog on SB Nation. Okay, quick recap. This is from Grizzly Bear Blues. You can follow them at Grizzly Bear Blues. They do the Memphis Grizzlies. Okay, the second quarter just felt bad for Memphis, and it was Memphis allowing the Spurs to come back down by a 20-point deficit. That was in the second quarter. The shooting in the game, they went 9 for 27. Memphis went 15 for 25. That was in the second quarter. So that's kind of what happened in the second quarter. I didn't see that game, so they were giving you the recap right here. Second quarter, they just absolutely fell apart. Second quarter. Now the third quarter was a dogfight. Ja Morant started getting his shots off. He kept attacking, getting 15 points, 5 assists, and 6 rebounds in the game. He also had 20-20 experience with 2 blocked shots, and also at the 2-minute mark. So that's what happened in the actual basketball game. Also, Titus nailed a 3-point shot to give Memphis a double-digit lead. So that's what happened in that actual game. So once again, this is from Grizzly Bear Blues, follow them at they do the Memphis Grizzlies. That's on SB Nation. Okay, let's see what's okay, why do the Mavericks make people so angry? All things considered, the Dallas Mavericks has a successful season. If you spend any time part of it, team online, you might not know it. So a lot of people, like I said, why they make them mad? I don't. What is the issue with that? Why they make them mad? Okay, the better win. They had a better winning percentage last season. They also had a higher seed. Also, they entered the playoffs with better health, stuff like that. Why everyone is so pissed off? I think I know why. I want to ask the Mavericks online this season, exercise their patience, making verbal use of block and mute features on Twitter, which I think is good because they don't need all the distractions. The Dallas Mavericks, I don't think they need all that stuff because you're going to have a lot of idiots out there. They're going to put a lot of nobody, nothing stuff about this team. Look, the Dallas Mavericks. Look, they absolutely did have a good season with Porzingis and Doncic, having Doncic back in the game. I mean, why get pissed at them? I mean, if they make the playoffs, they will make the playoffs. If they drop out of the playoffs, I mean, they'll have the right to be mad. That's just simple as that. So, using the block and mute features on Twitter, they don't want to preach or tell anyone how to be a fan, but it's just curious how so many people lose their mind over this team. I mean, yeah, it's a lot of like I said, they put a lot of crap out there just to tell you the Mavericks losing the bad teams. Yeah, that's probably the reason why. But the truth of the matter is, when they just absolutely sure they're going to lose to those good teams and stuff like that. But the truth of the matter is, look, the Dallas Mavericks comes out and they just absolutely play you to the woodshed. That's one thing they will play you. They will add Doncic and all that. I mean, a lot of people get mad because of those reasons, but the positives coming out of those things is outweighs the criticism. So I don't know why this cameras. So once again, this is from so let's finish up this article. So another reason they dropped games and stuff like that. So they probably 100% frustration is consistency. One used direct towards me and stuff like that. So that's probably what reason number two, the off-season failure finally reached the boiling point. So people's, I know they're pissed off and just absolutely getting angry and stuff like that. But the truth of the matter is, look, they will build the team up. I mean, I'm not trying to be tell fans how to think, and that's their prerogative. If they want to think that way, that's fine. But like I said, So once again, this is from SB Nation. Go to sbnation.com. That's sbnation.com. So we'll go through this article. So that's the reason why. I mean, that's probably the reasons. Because yeah, some of the, I mean, like I said, they don't appreciate. Like I said, look, when you got Doncic, and when you got Porzingis, that could be a combination right there. That could be a good combination right there. So once again, this is from SB Nation. Go to sbnation.com. That's sbnation.com. So let's move along. Okay, Kwame Brown is blasting everyone in sight for joking about his NBA career. So that's what they're. So this article is probably about. So you could once again. So it's once again with his career. So this is from SB Nation. Go to sbnation.com. Okay, let's see what else we can discuss here on Sports Talk. If you want to talk about anything in the world of sports, please come in through Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can give us your takes. So let's see what else we have. Looks like we kind of covered mostly SB Nation stuff. So let's move along to the local sports. So let's go over to Crescent City Sports. Okay, Crescent City Sports. Let's okay, Feast of Famine. Hitters, power pitchers dominate Major League Baseball. So that's Ken Trahan's article. So yes, I think so. I heard my coach yell to me at that's at Lakeshore Playground to this day. Shorten up, put the ball in play. Don't try to kill the ball. That's what he tried to tell. So yeah, Major League Baseball. All these guys, I'm gonna tell you, they're just absolutely got some power hitters and also some pitchers that could be absolutely good players in the near future. Just like Corey Kluber last night. Corey Kluber, we're going to get back to him. He had a no-hitter. I mean, I'm going to tell you, look, all these guys, when you have power pitching and you also have good hitting, that benefits your team in an instant. That absolutely benefits your team. So I'll be honest with you, it's just the formalities of the game of Major League Baseball. I know a lot of people don't like to hear all that, but it is the truth. It is 99% the truth. Now, Miley's 89 and 89 in his 11-year career. He gave up some hits and stuff like that, but I'm gonna tell you, he just absolutely just bites in the innings and stuff like that. So pretty good. So once again, pretty good article by Ken Trahan. Please follow him at Crescent City Sports. That's crescentcitysports.com. We'll give you another article. Okay, McNeese adds Yang and Stephen Yang and Jonathan Stroller. He is going to the women's basketball coaching staff. So they're both going to join as assistant coaches. So they will be coaching with the Northwest McNeese coach Lynn Kennedy. So that's a good investment for the McNeese women's basketball team. So once again, this is from Crescent City Sports. Go to crescentcitysports.com. That's crescentcitysports.com. Okay, Bo9, our LHSAA uses team efforts to get through the 2020-2021 season. So that is absolutely good. What happened with the LHSAA, that was just mind-boggling with the championship that's been handed out in 2021. So I think, like I said, he's doing an absolutely good job with the LHSAA. That's so let's go ahead and hear from Eddie Bonan. This was on All Access. Let's go ahead and put that up and let you listen to it.
High school sports, it's been the ultimate challenge this year, but here we are at the finish line with everything pretty much complete now. And the best thing you can say is they pulled it off, and they did it pretty well, if not very well. Joining us now to talk about that is a gentleman who's only aged about 15 years in this past year, our friend, the executive director of the LHSAA, Eddie Bonan. Eddie, I think I probably got that right, didn't I?
Which part did you get right? You definitely nailed the part. You're definitely the part that we were able to get the seasons in. But I don't know about the 15 years, Ken. We've all as a group collectively have aged a little bit during this process. But by golly, we got it done, and the kids and the coaches and school administration and all of the membership, man, everybody came together. You start naming people you forget, and you're afraid you may forget somebody. So, end of the day, it was a team effort, man. And whatever you want to call the team did it, and we're excited that we were able to do something positive for the kids this year.
I don't think anybody knew where this was going last summer. We all hoped we knew where it was going. We all hoped that there would be an opportunity. And as I said from day one, I thought your organization handled it extremely well to be able to keep moving, the line forward, to be able to allow deadlines to be pushed back and give the kids an opportunity. It's a good thing that happened. I remember with football not starting until October, some were very concerned. Oh my, we're only going to get to play 8 games or 7 games or whatever. And what about playoffs? Bottom line is, I think everybody's grateful that happened. And then, of course, the other seasons, went off as planned.
They did. And again, I think my job as executive director was to, as tough as it was at times, and you know how I'm wired, for patience. And because everybody else was saying and thinking what everybody else was saying and thinking of what they could and couldn't do. And we just maintained patience. We tried to do it, stay within the guidelines that we were given, which depend on who you talk to and whether they agree with those or not. But at the end of the day, the executive committee of the LHSA, which, is comprised of principals and other entities from around the state, have been very supportive of the direction that we went with the administration we have right now in place with my assistant directors and myself. And we did it patiently, but we got it in. And I truly believe that not only in football, but all of our fall sports and all 10 of our winter sports, and then all of our spring sports, those individuals, those schools that picked to win or should have won a championship, or would have those seniors coming back, or the juniors that didn't get to play last year and they got to play this year. We wanted to make sure that for all of this, we did it in the spirit of those seniors who got hosed last spring, And then, by gosh, if not right before we started spring sports, the attendance was listed, and we were able to get people in the stands. And it was standing, when it really hit home for me was on that Friday night and Saturday night at state track at LSU, when those athletes, that regardless of the running event, came around that final corner and come down the home stretch to the finish line. And in unison, that standing room only crowd rose and screamed and hollered. It gives you goosebumps. Just sunsetting over the stadium, you know what I'm saying? And that's when I stood there and thought to myself, we're back. This is what we missed last year by not having track. And this is the event that really, to me, made it hit home for me that, gosh, this is cool. This is the way it's supposed to be. And this is for those seniors who didn't get to do it last year.
Every precaution was taken to make sure that things happened safely. And I think the other salient point here was that schools, teams had the opportunity to opt out.
Yes, like I said, look, everything, like I said, the LHSAA did a fine job with their sports, getting them off in time and also in a safe, sufficient manner. So I think, like I said, they kudos to the LHSAA and their staff for doing that. So one thing's for sure, look, the track and field, it was canceled last year. Now they're back this year, 2021. So I'm glad to see LHSAA rising to the occasion when it comes down to those getting those sports off. So once again, this is from All Access. We'll hear more from Eddie Bonine, the commissioner of the LHSAA.
And some did. They didn't participate, and that was their obvious, choice, and that was one that you respect completely. So the point is that most everybody wanted to compete, and they wanted to badly, and by doing so, they did what they had to do to make sure that they could compete.
They did, and in defense of them, and defense of our office, the goalposts changed on a regular, that it kept moving, on what we can and can't do. And as we're here today, there's still some across the nation. When can you have to wear the mask? And when don't you wear the mask? And we're past that, dude. We're at that point now where schools are graduating. Where the seniors are being able to get their due. They didn't get a chance last year. And all of that now is in place so that we have some normalcy back, Ken Trey, and we have some normalcy back. And let's go back to one of the events that's very near and dear to you, which is state wrestling. We had 1,800 people in the Raising Cane Center here in Baton Rouge, and we did it. We had athletes in a different building. We moved them in, we moved them out. And as I sit here today, we have not had one case of COVID from our athletes reported from any of the events that we did in the postseason. And that's kudos to the training staff, kudos to the epidemiologists that's around the state and regions, the coaching staffs, the school administration, everybody. You were at many of these events. All the precautions that we took were in compliance, and guess what? It worked, and we had the opportunity to crown some champions at the end of the day.
Eddie Bonine with us from the LHSAA. As you look back at this, what was the biggest challenge that you had to face? What was the one obstacle? I mean, people might say, politics. They might say, some of the vehement opponents of some of the guidelines that were put out, whatever the case may be. Some say it might have been a few schools. What, in your mind, what was the biggest obstacle that your organization had to overcome?
The who was in charge of the contact tracing? If a student athlete was identified and then you did the contact tracing, and then the two schools would get involved, then maybe the next week's opponent and or the next day opponent and the opponent of the school in which they just participated against, the contact tracing, and that was where teams were being devastated, where it got to the point that you didn't just contact trace. The bottom line is that if somebody showed up with COVID or somebody tested positive for COVID, which usually 9 out of 10 times was not an athlete, the whole team got quarantined for 14 days. And that was where, I think that was the toughest part, Ken, across the state, was the consistent application of the 14-day quarantine and the God bless all of them. That would be the epidemiologists that were assigned by the state, that were in regions across the state. And I don't think when they got involved in this, they thought that they were going to be the ones that were making teams ineligible. And then they were on the hot seat. Not so much the school, but the epidemiologists told us that we had to quarantine the 32 students, so we had to quarantine those athletes. And so I think that was the challenge for all of us, not just with the LHSA, but my membership, but also for the epidemiologists across the state, and even the doctors associated with it through our sports medicine advisory and training staff, the NATA certified trainers across the state. So that was, I think, the biggest challenge was the consistency application of identifying and contact tracing and how long they were going to be out.
To be in the position that you're in, look, I'm in this business of disseminating information every day, and every time you open a microphone or write something, somebody doesn't like you. It's just the nature of what it is. By nature, you're in that chair every day where no matter what you do, whatever decision you make, you're going to endure criticism, and you got to wear big boy pants, and you do because you understand that's part of the job. And yet that's got to be difficult and frustrating when all you're trying to do is to give the student athlete a chance to do what he or she has wanted to do all their lives, what they've prepared to do all year long. And yet there were still people that were critical of that process. In retrospect, it was a great decision. We look back and we don't see anything serious that occurred to any student athlete, unless I missed something. That wasn't the case. So it was a success. And yet how difficult is that for you personally to sit there and take barbs from people that don't agree with what the organization is doing?
Well, first of all, if you're going to get into governance, regardless of what you're going to do, you better have thick skin, a short memory, and a hard head. And I can check each one of them boxes. Number one. Number two is the majority, and I would say 8.5 to 9 out of 10 wanted to do what we did. So really, it was a smaller few that were barking. And okay. We all have our opinions, but I felt as though from the get-go that I was doing what I felt was necessary for the best interest of the student athletes, Kim, because that's what I'm in this business for, is participation and education-based athletics. And that's what we do. I take the politics out of it. I take whatever I need to out of it, but I want to make sure that the decision I'm making is the best for your kid, your grandchild, my kid, my grandchild, and everybody else's kids across the state. And I know this may be redundancy for your regular listeners, but know that last year, this time, my kid was a senior in high school, did not get to graduate, did not get to commencement exercise, did not get to compete his senior year in track and field, did not get to go to the prom, did not get to do all the stuff other seniors across our state did. So when the decision was made that we weren't going to play anything and we're not going to do anything, it affected my dinner table as well. So I get it, and I can honestly say I get it. For somebody else that doesn't, then that's their business, not mine. So it was personal for me as a parent and as a dad, but also as your leader in education-based athletics for the state with the LHSAA. So you just got to have a short memory, dude. That's whenever you're a starting pitcher, as I was back in the day. You just got to remember that what you did the last time, you're only as good as your last outing, right? And if you weren't that good, you weren't that good to pitch again. That's kind of the way I've approached this position as executive director as well.
Well, I will feel safe to say that you threw strikes. Okay, so good job in that regard.
But the reason sometimes if you're around the plate a lot, there's a good chance one might leave the yard every now and then. And they did on a regular basis. So yeah, I get it. But you got to throw strikes. You got to pitch ahead. You got to stay ahead, and you got to be smart and don't hurt yourself and never second guess yourself. Never second guess yourself. And give up the home run or the base hit in the gap to give up a run with your second best pitch. You always got to be throwing the best way. And that's what I did. That's what I felt we did in this job.
Eddie Bonai with us from the LHSAA. So that was the biggest challenge this past calendar year. Looking ahead to 21-22, what's the biggest challenge you see presented to you forthcoming, or is there one that really is on your horizon that you're looking at and saying, this is something we're going to have to raise the bar to meet?
Well, I think that the biggest challenge is a couple of them. Number one, we have, we moved reclassification down a year. We should have already reclassified. We didn't have our annual convention. There were some proposals and maybe some situations, some stuff that we could have got squared away at the last January convention. So in June, we have our summer board executive committee meeting coming up on June 2nd and 3rd. and we will finalize this year's budget. Close out the books and get all the bills paid, and then we will also be temporarily or preparing and proposing a budget for the next year, fiscal year starting in July 1. And then at that point, we start preparing for reclassification. We'll be gathering proposals for the annual convention, which will be a 2019, 20, 2021 type convention, if you will, 21, 22, so it'll be combined. But we had, I think, 23 or 24 proposals that were coming to the floor of the general business meeting for the convention that we didn't have this year. So we'll reopen that process up and get those all together, combine it. As you've been to the convention, we've had sometimes many 50, 60, 70 proposals. So we're going to go through that, work our way through that. So we've got to get back on track. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to get everything cleaned up. So we get through January of next year, we're basically back on track again with everything in order, and hope and pray for no other pandemics. And we're back to normal. So we got a few things, normal business things we need to do. I wouldn't say they're challenges, but we're going to get those done in a timely manner, which is what our Constitution tells us to do. And we'll get it done. So we're looking forward to a little break here in the summer. But when it's all said and done, summer rules are already in place. Started on the 17th. So we got summer rules in place now for our summer activities that we have. And some people are still participating in some spring football. Some have opted out for spring football. In fact, today I had a couple of schools in the southwest part of our state had started their spring practices, and because of flooding, they said, Mr. Bonine, we're going to opt out, and we just want to start in the fall earlier the week because we're not going to do spring. So I've authorized 2 or 3 of those in the last 24 to 48 hours for incidents that have tried to have happened recently because of weather. So everything's good, man. We're just kind of winding down and get ready for next year.
One of the things that the LHSA has done most recently is whenever there are, because I get these questions all the time, as you might imagine, when there are violations and penalties to be handed out, the LHSA has chosen to keep that silent, not to publicize it. And that is a decision that was made, I'm sure, by the organization as a whole. Just talk about that, because we get questions all the time. Why haven't we hear anything about this particular violator? We know they did this, blah, blah, blah. And my response has always been, they've taken care of it internally. How do you respond to that? Is it an issue of just trying to protect people? Is it an issue of being concerned about transparency? What would you say to that particular train of thought?
Well, you hit on a couple of the points. The first one is I have 404 member schools, and they rely on me to enforce the rules that we have in our handbook. Number one, we're no different than the legislature comes once a year to Baton Rouge, and they establish, they all have bills that turn into acts that are passed, and then they expect those respective entities to enforce whatever's passed. That happens once a year with the LHSA. The principals of the association are my legislators. They come to the convention. We either make additions to the handbook and constitution, we delete some of it, or we make whatever, we add whatever. End of the day, when we leave that convention, effective July 1 that year, they expect me to enforce those. And nowhere does it say in that enforcement that I've got to run a school through the ringer publicly, and with so many different social media and so many different media outlets. I keep it within the association family. If a school wants to take it to the media and let somebody know what's going on with them.
Well, like I said, yes. And they're doing the right thing with this keeping it private, because, look, you don't want to run these schools through the ringer, and it's definitely going to be an adverse effect. So, look, I applaud what they do. If they're doing it within in the association, yes, I think it should be kept private. But I know transparency is going to be paramount in everyday life. So I look at it this way. Look, LHSAA has got, like I said, it's organization. They're just absolutely just doing everything, just going to all stops to try to get everything squared away. So I say this, look, LHS, my opinion, I say just keep doing what you're doing. I know there is going to be a lot of criticism. That's part of the job. But hey, They're doing an excellent job. So let's go ahead and once again we'll hear last few minutes of Eddie Bonine with Ken Trahan on Crest City Sports, and we'll wrap it up for today.
Then I am going to answer any questions that's offered by the media in depth of whatever might be the case. But I'm not going to be the guy that's going to send that out there to have somebody take shots at or try to humiliate or whatever it might be that respective school. I don't work that way. I'm not going to work that way. I've been down that road since I've been here, and it wasn't good for the school nor the athlete or athletes that are involved. In Eddie's world, that's not news. That's negative news. And I try to remain as positive as I can and try to send out information on good things that are happening in the association. This past year was bad news. Any way you swung it, it was bad news. And you didn't need to know that a school got violated for this or a kid was ineligible. That's not news in Eddie's world. It might be to the media, but it's not to the LHSA nor to my member schools. And at this point, as I sit here today, the membership has been appreciative of the fact that I've done that. And if the information wants to get out, then they get it out. And so be it, and I'll answer questions for the media, as can they. But if a media outlet calls me and says, hey, what about so-and-so? I said, you need to contact the school. If they want to discuss it with you, fine. And at that point, contact me. I'll reach back to the school and say, hey, did you have this conversation with Mr. Ken Trahan? I did. Okay, because he's contacted me, and I'm going to reach back to him and answer his questions. That, I think, is a very safe protocol. That is transparency, but it's also a scenario where we're going to be guarded about what we do and what we don't do. Within the association. And the association for Eddie is the 110,000 students that I represent every day, the almost 5,000 officials, over 13,000 coaches, and the 404 principals and over 370 some odd athletic directors that I work with or try to work with every day or a course of a year. So I think that's a large family. Responsibility lies with me and my staff to take care of the association. I think that's what we do, and we do it the way we do it.
And I think it's also safe to say for those that ask those questions that, yes, there have been some penalties meted out without getting into specifics. That has happened during this calendar year, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, because again,
there's people, and again, I have 10 compliance officers, Ken, that go around and check school records and work with schools, and they're not out. Their direction is not to go out there and catch them. Mm-hmm. Catch them not doing something right. Their goal is to go out there, to go through the files to make sure that all the physicals are in place and the kids academically are eligible and the parent consent forms for this and that is in place and all that kind of stuff. And that keeps everybody in compliant, but it also puts them in a position where if they inadvertently left something out or they didn't get a kid, they don't get caught, 2 weeks before the season's over and they find out that the Trahan daughter who's a cross-country runner, her paperwork isn't in, she can't run in the state playoffs. We prevent that from happening. That's the inner workings of the association. It's very, very, I think, very organized to the point where we keep everybody in compliance with the rules that the principals have passed for me to enforce, as my compliance people do. They also investigate for me when necessary. But I think that they all do a great job in doing that, as does the membership.
As you know, I respect all points of view, always have, always will. And yet I feel strongly about certain issues. I've always been against the split. I think it sends a terrible message. And I think I just think it's bad for the kids. Just my opinion. Doesn't make me right or wrong. I've stated that continuously and stated solutions that at least I see that are out there. I guess the biggest issue moving forward, since it's been since 2013, since we had the first split, is the 2/3, I guess, for lack of a better term, poison pill that's in there. Because it looks to me like you could get 50% plus one to possibly agree on doing some things together. The chances of getting 2/3, now that's pretty slim. And I don't know if Slim left the door already, but it's pretty slim unless some minds really change. Would that be accurate?
You are accurate, but let me go back historically and let you explain why Eddie stood on the fact that we needed to have a 2/3 vote to change constitutional items instead of 50, a simple majority. Because the Constitution and our bylaws, two separate documents, but one work in unison, is the cornerstone of the association. Without it, we haven't got an association to work off of. And to just change things like we did when we changed and we had the vote that we had for the split, if this would have been in place, we wouldn't be split. Now they said, Eddie, now you understand that we may not be able to get 2/3 vote to come to undo the split. I said, I understand that, but we're not going to have another major decision like the split we're in now happen again with just a simple majority vote. And at the last convention it'll be 2 years ago, if you recall, it wasn't far from having the 2/3 vote to untie the split. So it may come in that something like that might come around for this next convention. I don't know that, and won't know until we get to the end of August deadline for proposals. There were no proposals of that was coming to the convention that we postponed, actually canceled, to move to next year. That would have done anything in that regard with the split that would have changed that in the process. So it could happen. Principals are changing. A lot of people are retiring. Some individuals are, this year, believe it or not, has made a lot of principals just leave and or retire. It became more than they had signed up to do. And the same with teachers in education. You probably know some. There are a lot of teachers that quit teaching. They this year just wore them out. They needed to get away. So a lot can happen this year. Let's just see how this year. Let's get another year under our belt of normalcy and see how it plays out.
About 3 or 4 more minutes with Eddie Bonine. So failing the split ending, one of the things that's been talked about frequently is at least reduce the number of classes, because the playoffs, and I don't want to call the playoffs a farce. They're not a farce, but they're tarnished because, look, softball, of the first 118 games in the softball playoffs this year, 78 were run rule games. 78. That's like 66%. I mean, it's a shame. You've got teams that have no prayer, are totally overmatched, and in some cases, they're traveling 3 or 4 hours to go play the game. And that's not, I just use that sport as one example, but it happens across the board because we have playoffs that are absolutely too big with too many teams participating. God bless teams that win 1 or 2 games that are playing in the playoffs, but that should never happen. And it does. So the question I get all the time is the membership has the right to reduce the number of classes, doesn't it?
They do have that right, and that is going to be addressed. I truly believe that even though there was a lot of negative surrounding the pandemic, some of the adjustments we had to make actually opened our eyes to some stuff. And I think it opened up some of the membership eyes to some stuff as well. And I truly believe that will be a discussion we have at our June meeting. And I think that will be a discussion that will be had as we move forward for reclassification when it comes to the playoffs, because a lot of schools realize that how much it costs to travel, how much it costs to do stuff. And by having limited attendance and limited restriction and what they had to do in regards to generating some form of gate receipt so they can pay for certain things, whether it be travel officials or whatever, the revenue, which you know as well as I, as Moby was a minnow, there's revenue drawn at the gates to pay for things at schools, and that's the way it works in those athletic departments. So I really think there's going to be some good scrutiny on that, Ken. It's a good point, and there's going to be some scrutiny looked at the playoffs, not just on the division sports, but on all classifications, 1A to including B and C.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. If the split doesn't end, that's what really should happen, because it would make the playoffs more legitimate. It would make the competition better. It would eliminate the blowouts and the schools that have no chance and have to spend money to travel in the process. And look, this isn't a public-private issue. It's an across-the-board issue. The privates are every bit as guilty as the publics, because they could easily say, you know what, guys? Yeah, our playoff system stinks, and they say it all the time, and they're right, yet they could do something about it. Why not reduce it to 3 classes as opposed to 4?
And we don't need 5 divisions in the select girls basketball division. There's a lot of, I hear it all the time, of the divisions. You're right. We don't need that many classifications. So no, for me today, talking to you on your show here, that is being looked at and scrutinized as we move forward with this classification on what we can and can't do with that. That'll be something we'll discuss at our EC meeting as just a general informational topic coming up in June.
Well, good news is capacities are being allowed in most places now, and we saw today the NCAA announced that they can have a full crowd for the Baton Rouge softball regional, everything else imaginable. So we're getting there, and hopefully football can return to the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. And obviously all the other venues that the championships are at. We expect to see big crowds coming up in the 2021-22 school year. Knock on wood, right?
Yeah, and I sent out a communication yesterday to the membership, just thanking them, letting them know that the spring was the icing on the cake. It culminated what we've gone through. The fans came out in droves. We had great attendance at softball. We had great attendance at baseball, and of course, we had, as I mentioned earlier, we had great attendance at track. People wanted to come back and watch the competition, and it was very evident this spring that people had enough of being stuck at home and or restrictions, and they came out in force. So the report will be good at the EC meeting coming up in June for our spring sports, as well as we did in basketball and other places. It just gradually released it, but at the end of the day, the crowds were good. We had to do things a little bit differently, but everybody came out that wanted to come out to all of our events, and kudos to the fans and the families and everybody who sacrificed. But it's good to know I think we ended on a high note. I really truly believe we did.
I do too, and I think it was a big success, as I mentioned, to be able to pull it off. Kudos to you and to your staff for working hard to help make it happen. For all these student athletes, for their families, their parents, I know they're all grateful they had an opportunity to compete. So again, congrats to you and the staff. Deeply appreciate it. Keep up the good work, and hey, take a deep breath now, right? You get a chance to breathe for a week or two, right?
Yep, gonna breathe, and cannot be remiss if I didn't say, the key to management is the people you surround yourself with, and I've got a hell of a staff, and I've got a really supportive executive committee right now, and I couldn't do what I do if I didn't have that type of reinforcement around me to make the decision we make on a daily basis. So thank you so much for the compliments, but it goes to a lot of people on the team that done a lot of great things this year to get this thing done, and from the top to the bottom across our state, right, including the superintendents and others across our state. It's been good.
Eddie Bonine, thank you. Appreciate the time.
Okay, that was Eddie Bonine talking with Ken Trahan from Crescent City Sports. That was on Nash 106.1. I'm going to say this about, like I said, once again, closing statement about the LHSAA. Look, they did an excellent job getting those championships completed. Like the track and field championship, the softball championship, and the basketball championship. So I'm glad to see that happening here in the state. Also, once again, with the classifications, yes, I am totally in 100% favor to knock down those classifications from 5 to only 3. I think it's good because once again, you get these teams that has no chance of winning a championship or something. They get destroyed, and they get knocked out of the first round of the playoffs. And that's like I said, look, that's how the classifications work. If they can go down to 3, like I said, you don't need those 5 divisions in basketball. You really don't. Just like football, you don't need them in football as well. So with that being said, once again, thanks for joining us for this edition of Sports Talk with Kerry Wehmeyer Show. We will be back on later on this evening. LSU will take on Texas A&M. That game will be on ESPNU. We will have game audio coverage feeded in through the StreamYard broadcast. You'll hear every play-by-play call of LSU and Texas A&M. So we will have that game for you tonight. So once again, everybody have a good rest of your Thursday afternoon, and we'll see you later for LSU and Texas A&M.